So let's talk about a huge corporate shakeup, a legendary airline, and a very ambitious plan to get it ready for privatization. Today, we're cracking open the very first annual report of a brand new company at the heart of Pakistan's aviation future, PIA Holding Company Limited, or as we'll call it, PIAHCL. We're going to break down what this company is, who's in charge, and what its first year really tells us about the road ahead. Let's jump in.
Okay, so the first and, the most obvious question is, why? Why go through all the trouble of creating a whole new company from an airline that's been around forever? Well, the answer really gets to the core of the problem that's been facing Pakistan's national airline for years and years.
And here's the big idea. PIHCL is basically a special tool designed to neatly separate the airline from all its historical baggage. The car analogy on the screen is perfect. Imagine you're selling a beautiful classic car. The first thing you do is clean out all the junk from the glove compartment, right? The old maps, the random receipts, all that clutter. That's exactly what PIHCL is doing. It's taking all the legacy debt and the assets that aren't about flying planes, things like hotels and other investments, and putting them into a separate box. What's left is the car itself, the airline, which is now lean, clean, and a whole lot more appealing to a potential buyer.
So what this really does is create a fundamental split. You now have two totally separate companies, each with a very different job to do. Let's break down exactly who is responsible for what.
So on one hand, you've got the airline, PIAHCL. Its only job now is to do what an airline is supposed to do, fly planes. The mission is to become an efficient, modern carrier. But on the other hand, you have PIAHCL, the holding company. Its job is completely different. It has to manage that big portfolio of non-airline assets and, this is the really big one, take care of all that old debt. This clean separation is really the masterstroke behind the whole privatization strategy.
Okay, but a plan this ambitious is only as good as the people running the show, right? So who exactly did the government bring in to steer this new ship? Let's take a look at the board of directors.
The makeup of the board itself tells a really interesting story. This is not just another government committee. Out of the 11 members, a clear majority, 7 of them, are independent professionals. These are people from finance, law, aviation, experts in their fields. And that structure was a very deliberate choice, designed to bring in some serious corporate governance and specialized skills for what is, let's be honest, a massively complex task.
And this leadership team has a pretty serious track record. I mean, take the chairman, Tariq Bajwa. During his time running the Federal Board of Revenue, he oversaw major revenue growth and brought in that whole filer/non-filer tax concept. That system basically created different tax rates to encourage more people to officially file their taxes. It shows he's not just a figurehead, he's someone who has real experience with big public finance reforms.
And that expertise runs deep across the whole board. You've also got people like Yusuf Kosa, who's a top-tier corporate lawyer. He's been a major player in the aviation world for a while, leading really complex deals like aircraft financing. So you see this mix of public finance gurus and private sector aviation pros, which is exactly the kind of combination you need for a project like this.
So we've been throwing around this term non-core assets that got moved over to PIHCL. But what does that portfolio actually look like? Let's peel back the curtain and look at a couple of the key businesses now under its control.
First up is Sabre Travel Network. Now, if you're in the travel industry, you definitely know this name. It's a huge technology company that provides the reservation systems that pretty much all travel agents use to book flights. PIAHCL actually holds a majority stake in its Pakistan operations.
And, hey, good news, it actually makes money, which is always a good start. In its 2024 fiscal year, Sabre Pakistan turned a profit before tax of nearly 16 million rupees. So this means it's an asset that's generating income for the holding company, not just another problem to solve. But, as we're about to see, the story is a little more complicated than that.
So check this out. When you dig into the numbers, a really fascinating picture emerges. Even though the total number of bookings actually went down a little bit, the commission income they made went up. The report says this was because of improved realizations. Still, the final profit was lower than in 2023, and that was partly because of foreign exchange losses and higher expenses. It just goes to show you the kind of challenging but still productive market Sabre is working in. All right, so from tech, let's switch gears to hospitality. The other major asset we're looking at is Skyrooms Private Limited. This is the company that operates the airport hotel in Karachi, another piece of the old PIA empire that's now being managed by PIHCL. So, looking at the top line, Skyroom's brought in 272 million rupees in revenue for 2024. And just like with Sabre, this isn't some dusty old asset they're just sitting on. The new management has been super active, trying to boost its performance right from day one.
Yeah, this first year under the new setup was a whirlwind for Skyrims. They got right to work with major renovations, almost doubling the number of rooms from 120 to 208. They also modernized their back office with a new financial system and even managed to recover over 33 million rupees in tax refunds. This is what active asset management really looks like.
So we've seen the strategy, the team, and the assets. Now for the million-dollar question. Well, billion-dollar question, really. How did PIAHCL actually do, financially, in its very first year?
Well, as you can probably guess, a foundational year that's all about setting up a massive new company, untangling decades of financial history, and building a whole new system from scratch, that's going to come with some serious costs. It was never going to be about record profits.
And the bottom line shows that. For its first year, the company registered a loss of about 9 rupees per A-class share. Now look, this wasn't a total shock, given the sheer scale of what they were doing. But the most important thing to remember is that this headline number, it is definitely not the whole story.
See, if you dig into the annual report, you'll find something way more interesting than the initial loss. It's a specific note from the independent auditors, a firm called Grant Thornton, and this, my friends, is where financial reports get really, really interesting.
The auditors issued something called a qualified opinion. And when it came to one specific part of the business, the precision engineering complex, they wrote, and I'm quoting here, "We have not been provided with the information and documents to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence." Now, in any audit, that is a pretty significant flag to raise. Okay, qualified opinion sounds pretty serious, right? So what does it actually mean? It's really important to be clear here. It does not mean the auditors found anything illegal or that the numbers are definitely wrong. What it means is that for this one specific area, they just couldn't get enough paperwork to say with 100% certainty that the numbers are correct. Think of it like a yellow light, not a red one. It's a signal of uncertainty that the company now has to go and fix. All right, so that was year one, the setup year. It was all about laying the foundation. So with all that groundwork now in place, what are the company's biggest priorities for the year ahead? Where do they go from here? Well, the company lays out a super clear 5-point plan in its own report. Number one, no surprise, is to do everything they can to support the airline's privatization. After that, they're going to focus on getting more value out of their assets, beefing up the management of their subsidiaries, looking for new partnerships, and this is the crucial one, especially after that auditor's note, improving transparency and internal controls. It's basically a roadmap that tackles the challenges from year one head-on.
And that brings us full circle. A new company has been born, a new board is at the helm, and the tangled mess of an airline's history has finally been separated from its core job of flying. This whole massive, incredibly difficult process has one single goal: to give Pakistan's national airline a real shot at a different kind of future. The only question left is, this time, will it finally work?